Hi everybody. Welcome back to the most exciting YouTube channel there ever was. It's really not. We are going to be starting our next project. So these ones are going to be a coil pebble pot. So we're going to get something that looks like this. So you can see this is like the outside of my sort of dish bowl thing. There's still some paper stuck on it. That's okay. This one's still a little bit too wet. I shouldn't have taken it out of its mold. But that's okay. We'll live. Maybe. Who knows? For this project, you guys are going to need a couple of things from your house. One of them is going to be something that's going to create the mold for your bowl itself. So a bowl, just a regular bowl, right? I have this one that I'm going to work on and show you guys works well. That one that I just made, I did it in this here. This is like a grapes container. This is a really big one. This is like a Costco size one. This might be a little bit challenging. If you have a smaller one, use it. If not, something like this works great as well. But yeah, we just want something that's going to be able to hold our clay. Okay, so step one is find a thing. You want it to be a little bit bigger, something, this is my water bowl, or this is also a rice bowl. This is going to be way too small for what we're trying to make. So something about the size of a cereal bowl is perfect. Okay, the next thing that we're going to do once we have our bowl is we need to create a barrier between the surface of the bowl and the clay itself. Okay, so you could do that using paper. I get all kinds of junk mail, so I just hold on to a lot of it and use that. If you have newspapers, those are great as well. If you have, coupon mailers, things like that, those work really well because they are going to be a thinner paper, so they fold up nice and easy. They give you a good, nice, smooth surface. Yeah, and that does really good. If you were using something like this that has holes in the bottom, you may want to place like just a piece of masking tape or some sort of tape over those holes to keep your clay from kind of going through and getting recessed in there. All right, so if I was using something like this, like a berry container, a clamshell carton, I think is what these things are actually called. I would take some of my tape here and I just lay it over my holes first, right? Because there's holes all up along the edge as well. And you can either tape it from the inside or the outside, whichever one is easier for you to get to, depending on the shape of the actual packaging. I didn't do that with the one that I made, and it's okay. It's fine, but it would have been better had it been closed off. So that's step one, patch up any holes if you have any holes. Step two is we're going to line our actual mold with whatever our barrier is going to be. If you do not have paper in your house, that's okay. You can use like saran wrap or plastic wrap. You could use like wax paper. You can use an old cloth, things like that. You want to get something down in the surface of the mold itself that is going to create that layer barrier for you. If like tinfoil would be the only like common household thing that I would say probably stay away from that. That's gonna get too that's going to give you too much of a texture on the outside. If you don't have plastic wrap, like produce bags work really well. You can usually just take one of those and fit it around the inside of your pot or the inside of your bowl. So when I'm putting this on, I'm trying to keep it as wrinkle free as I can and keeping it on the edge of the pot as well, or on the original bowl as well. Okay, so this is gonna help me create a really good barrier and keep it as smooth as I can. Now I can layer this up, it doesn't really matter as much as I want. I do want to make sure though that I leave overhang around the edge of my pot. Okay, so I'm gonna cut some of this off and start working on the other side. So it's up to you, however you best feel to do this. You guys can figure it out. I'm using plastic wrap just because it's a little bit, I want you guys to be able to see the design as I'm working on this bowl. That's why I'm also using a glass bowl. Don't tell my wife, these are her nice bowls. She's gonna freak out. She won't really freak out. I hope she doesn't freak out. Oh my gosh, what if she freaks out? It's okay, right? This is, it's just clay. So worst case scenario is it gets a little bit dusty and dirty. It's very easy to clean up out of the bowl. So you're not gonna be ruining anything is basically what I'm trying to say. So I'm gonna take that second piece of saran wrap. I make sure that I overlap here at the bottom. That's really important. So that I have a nice sealed surface. And then again, I'm just gonna kind of push it down and work it so that I have a good clean edge surface, as clean as I can get it, as wrinkle-free as I can get it as well. Okay, so that's step 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe 7. I don't really know how many steps we've had so far. But basically we're gonna get a bowl or something to create our mold in. We're gonna line it with either plastic or paper, and then we are going to start making our clay coils to go on the inside. All right, yay. Okay, so for this next part, we are going to be making coils again, which we should all be pretty good at that at this point. All right, so I start out rolling it in my hand, and then I take my coil back and forth all the way across, keeping it nice and even. Okay, and then we're gonna make a whole bunch of these Princess Leia hair buns, or cinnamon rolls, or snails, whichever way you would like to call it. So I'm just gonna make a bunch of these, okay? And I'm gonna set it off to the side. I'm not gonna do anything with them yet. I'm just gonna keep making them until I have maybe like, I don't know, we'll say 8. And then that's when we're gonna start with our next step. Okay, so again, it's just a coil. Keep it nice and even, roll it all the way up. They can be different sizes. Your coils can be different thicknesses and different shapes. Not shapes, but like different thicknesses. So some of them can be a little bit skinnier. Some of them can be short. Things like that. We don't want all of these, our little spirals, to be the same exact size. We do want some variety or variation in the size and thickness of all of them. Okay, so that is that step. So if I have a really long coil, what I like to do sometimes is I'll just break it in half. And that way I have now a smaller coil to work with, and then I can make a smaller one of these little shells. Okay, so now I have a bunch of my little discs. Right, I have about 9 of them, and as you can see, there's a pretty big variety of sizes on them. So some of them, like this one's really big, and then other ones are really kind of a lot smaller. Okay, so that's what we want. We want a pretty good variety. Our next step is we're going to bring our bowl back. Okay, so this is our mold. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with these initial coils, right, these little coil discs, and we're going to start to just gently put them in. I'm not really forcing them, but I am, when I lay it down, I'm going to push it so that it follows that line. So you can see that it's like kind of following up on that curve on the inside there. All right, so I want to make sure that it's laying flat against the edge of the bowl. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of play around with the placement before I start really getting anything put together and see how I want all of these to fit together. Okay, so I got another one right there. And then I want to see if I have one that's going to fit a little bit better in between those two. There it is. So you can see that I'm leaving gaps, and that's okay. That's what we want to do for right now. Leaving gaps is fine. I'm not pushing very hard. I'm just kind of gently pushing it together. So not hard enough that like I'm smushing the edges or anything. I'm just sort of getting it around and together. So I can see that my vase is, or my bowl rather, is starting to fill up with shapes, right? So I'm getting a pretty good base going. So I'm going to make more coils, start to roll them out, and now I have a better idea of some sizes that I need, right? Like this is kind of looking a little bit the same, so I'm probably going to move some of these around and make a few bigger coils to finish out filling in the pot. Okay, so I've made a few more of the little discs, right? And now I'm going to start to sort of finalize my design because I do have enough now to fill up my whole bowl. So I like to have a lot of kind of variety going on. So I don't like to have a whole bunch of the same size coils next to each other. Some people like that more balanced, like symmetrical sort of look, and that's okay. So, but you get to make your choices on how you want it to look. What I'm gonna do is just kind of start filling them in. So you can see how this one here is up to the edge. That's gonna be too close. We wanna leave enough room because we're gonna add a coil at the top. Okay, so this line right about here is going to be my cutoff for any of my coils. That's about as high as I want them to get. So I know that I need to move this guy down a little bit. All right, so it needs to come down here. There we go. And then I can move some of these other ones around. Okay, to get this all set together. Okay, so this whole thing is going to be kind of more that part 1 of our building, and then I'll put up a part 2 video of what we're going to do to continue on with our, to complete our vase, or our, I keep saying vase, our bowl. It's a bowl. Duh, we already made a vase. I think because we're just working with coil and I have vase stuck in my head now. All right, cool. So you can see here now I have a pretty good coverage. My line where I'm going to put that like end point is pretty even across the board. I have a couple of little spots here, so I'll probably unravel this one a little bit smaller to make it fit. But that's really the only big gap that I have, right? I have a couple of little gaps there, so I'll get those filled in by just taking this coil here. I'm sort of figuring out about how big I need it to be. So take it down to there, blend that down, and there we go. Perfect. It's like it was made that way. And then I have another one here that I can probably get one more in. So these little holes here are fine. We're going to go through and fill those in part 2 when we also complete the coil top as well. All right, so I hope you guys had fun. I hope we're enjoying this, and make good choices. Bye.